Margot Brine was dismissed while the Wolf King still bled into the Moonwater Basin. Steam rolled beneath the black arches of Nighthold's royal bathhouse. Silver lamps burned along the mineral channels. Torvald Neve sat waist-deep in the central pool, one hand braced against the rim while blood slipped from the old wound beneath his ribs. Court physician Anselma Crow stood above him in white robes, holding Margot's bath keys between two fingers as though they carried contamination. "You were instructed to prepare the king's recovery water," Anselma said. Instead, his fever rose, his wolf failed to answer, and 3 guards developed the same trembling after using the eastern pools. Margot stood barefoot on wet stone where 2 attendants had pulled her from the basin steps. Her grey work dress clung to her knees. Healers, soldiers, and bath servants watched in silence. "I prepared the mineral drawer recorded in the war healing ledger," Margot said. "No amended balm was entered before the water was drawn. The regimen was changed under my seal, after the basin had already accepted its oath." Anselma's expression did not move. "A bath widow does not overrule the king's physician." The words struck where they were meant to. Margot had washed battlefield mud from shattered men and learned which mineral currents exposed hidden fever and which drove pain deeper beneath the skin. Since her husband died during the Southern Campaign, the court had treated that knowledge as a servant's endurance rather than healing judgment. Torvald's gaze found hers through the steam. After the Battle of Red Pines, he had entered this bathhouse with enemy blood dried across both hands. Margot had washed it away without asking whether he trembled from rage or grief. He remembered the steadiness of her hands. "Now," he said, "you were responsible for the basin. I was responsible for the water I prepared." "And the king worsened inside it," Anselma replied. A dismissal order waited on the marble table beneath Torvald's seal. Margot looked at him. "Did you read my objection to the amended regimen?" "I read the physician's account. You trusted the hand that amended the water more than the woman who drew it." His wolf stirred weakly beneath his skin. For nearly a year, every royal bath had left the beast quieter. Ministers called it a battlefield curse. Anselma called it reason to extend medical authority over the throne. Margot called it a pattern no one had allowed her to enter into the official bath record. "Remove her," Torvald said. No apology softened the command. An attendant took Margot's arm. She did not resist. She turned instead toward the western benches where wounded soldiers waited for their nightly immersion. "Do not put them in the eastern pools. You no longer direct this bathhouse," Anselma said. "The same trembling has reached 3 guards. Admit every exposed soldier before you close the room around one king." Her keeper's oath bound her to every wounded body placed under Moonwater, whether crowned or nameless. "This is not a field hospital." "No, a field hospital counts the men before it protects the crown." Torvald's jaw tightened. He had once trusted her with blood no courtier saw. Now he watched Anselma strip the keys from her waist. The physician opened a narrow silver vial. The scent reached Margot before the balm touched the water. Bitter moonroot, crushed ironbark, and something sweet beneath both. The medicine had been sworn under a restoration oath, binding it to strengthen the wolf it entered. The basin carried another oath. Every mineral drawn for the Moonwater Basin was vowed to conceal no injury from the body receiving it. The water could soothe, reveal, or cleanse, but it could never hide harm beneath relief. 2 sworn purposes entered the same pool. The moonwater blackened around Anselma's hands. Darkness spread from her fingertips in branching ribbons, swallowing every silver reflection. The physician froze with the vial still tilted. A black ring widened around Torvald, then climbed his skin in narrow lines. Across his chest appeared the shape of repeated balm strokes. 1 at the throat, 2 beneath the ribs, 7 along the spine. The marks followed only the places where Anselma's attendants had rubbed the current restoration balm before lowering him into the water. Torvald surged upright, sending black water over the rim. Pale gold flashed through his eyes, then vanished as pain folded him against the stone. "The basin is reacting to contamination," Anselma said. Margot prepared the water. Margot did not move toward the king. The Moonwater Basin did not name poison. It could not tell whether Anselma acted knowingly, whether the balm had been altered before reaching her, or whether the mineral oath itself had been improperly drawn. It showed that two substances sworn to heal had met under incompatible purposes. A restoration oath is not concealment, Anselma said. The basin may be reacting to battlefield metals or old treatments in his blood. Then the same pattern should appear where battlefield medicine touched him, Margot replied. Not only where your current regimen was applied. That did not make Anselma guilty. It made the conflict impossible to dismiss. Seal the vial, Margot said. You have been dismissed. Then let someone with standing say it. Torvald lifted his head. Black water ran across the balm marks on his skin. Seal it. A clerk wrapped the vial in witness cloth. Another collected water from the darkened ring. Margot watched every hand that touched the evidence. Torvald reached toward her as another tremor passed through him. She stepped back before his fingers touched hers. You dismissed me before witnesses. You will not summon me back in private. His hand remained above the black water. What do you require? The eastern pools closed. Every soldier exposed to the amended regimen admitted and named. The mineral ledgers, bath drawers, balm cloths, and physician amendments opened under witness seal. The king may die while you negotiate authority, Anselma said. The king is not the only body placed in that water. Torvald looked toward the soldiers along the western wall. One had begun to shake. Margot held his gaze. I will not treat you first. The water around Anselma's abandoned vial deepened until the silver glass disappeared. Then the black lines across Torvald's body widened, not like wounds, but like channels. The basin did not count medicine. It remembered every place the balm had taught the water to lie. The pattern did not name Anselma's hand. It proved only that the current regimen had asked the moonwater to conceal what it was sworn to reveal. Before the black water cooled, Margot made the clerks number every vessel on the bathhouse floor. The darkened basin sample went beneath a silver lid. Anselma's abandoned vial was wrapped in witness cloth. The balm cloth used on Torvald's back was sealed separately, along with the amended regimen, the mineral drawer ledger, and the dismissal order bearing the king's seal. Torvald stood beside the drained basin in a linen robe while his wolf trembled beneath his skin. He had sealed the water after dismissing the woman who knew how to read it. He did not apologize. Anselma Crow remained composed. A restoration oath can conflict with a revealing mineral oath during wolf fever. One commands the body to rebuild, the other forces hidden injuries to surface. Black water may show strain between lawful treatments, not corruption. Then we test the strain against another body exposed to the same bath law, Margot said. Torvald granted her temporary Moonwater conflict witness standing. She could examine the Eastern Pool records for one exposed guard, compare the mineral drawer with one balm cloth, and question the attendants who prepared both. Her bath keys remained in Anselma's possession. Her dismissal still stood. Margot chose guard Wystan Cole because his trembling had begun during the same watch in which Torvald's fever worsened. Wystan sat on the western bench beneath a wool blanket. He was a broad-shouldered man who had returned from the northern wall with a healed spear wound and no history of wolf fever. Now his fingers shook whenever the bathhouse bells rang. I used the eastern pool after second watch, he said. The water was clear when I entered. Was balm applied before immersion? Yes, along my spine and old wound. Who ordered it? The night attendant said the physician's regimen had changed. Anselma answered before the attendant could be called. The guard pools received a diluted form of the royal restoration balm after reports of shared fever. Extending protection to exposed soldiers was medically reasonable. Reasonable treatments still require correct entry, Margot said. The Eastern Pool ledger showed that Wystan's bath had been drawn from the Silver Vein Channel, the same mineral current feeding Torvald's basin. The water was entered at moonrise under its ordinary oath: reveal concealed injury, carry no masking agent, preserve the body's true response. No amended balm appeared before the drawer. The night attendant, Letha Varn, was brought from the linen room. She held herself rigid beneath Anselma's gaze. "When did you receive the new balm instruction?" Margot asked. "After the eastern pool was filled." "How long after?" "1 bell, perhaps less." "Was the water redrawn?" "No." "Was the basin oath reopened?" "No." Anselma's expression cooled. Bath attendants do not reopen mineral oaths for every external salve. The balm was restorative, not concealing. Margot asked for Whiston's used cloth. The linen had been stored with ordinary wash bundles rather than medical evidence. A clerk found it folded beneath 3 clean towels, marked only with the guard's bench number. Under moonlight, pale silver threads rose along the weave, the visible residue of a restoration oath properly sworn. The oath itself was lawful. Margot laid the cloth beside the sample from Torvald's back. Both carried the same silver threading, both darkened at the edges when held over fresh moon water. "The balm is not answering as poison," Margot said. "It is answering as restoration applied after the water accepted a different healing purpose." Anselma inclined her head. "Which supports my explanation." "Partly." The room tightened around that word. Margot turned the cloth. Along the center of each balm stroke, the silver threads bent inward instead of spreading toward the wound. Restoration balm should draw heat and damaged blood outward before rebuilding tissue. This residue pressed the revealed injury back beneath the skin. It still did not establish whether the change came from the balm recipe, the oath wording, the application method, or the timing against the mineral draw. Torvald watched her hands. Years earlier, those same hands had washed blood from his knuckles after red pines. Now she kept them beyond his reach. "What happened to Whiston in the water?" Margot asked. "At first the old wound burned," he said. "Then the pain vanished. I thought it had healed. The shaking began before dawn. The silver vein water had been sworn to expose what the body concealed. The balm had forced the pain inward before the basin could carry it out. Relief had arrived. Healing had not." Margot requested Whiston's pre-bath examination. His old spear wound had been closed for 2 years. The night note recorded new heat beneath the scar before immersion. The post-bath note called the heat resolved because he no longer felt pain. "No one checked whether the heat remained," Margot said. "The guard was comfortable and fever-free," Anselma replied. "He was numb." "That is an interpretation." "Yes, which is why he needs examination, not argument." Margot refused to touch Torvald until Whiston was admitted under open soldier care. The guard was moved to the Western Recovery Room, where 2 independent healers recorded the heat beneath his scar and the weakness in his wolf's hindquarters. Only then did she return to the witness table. The amended balm order was dated 1 bell after the silver vein draw. Its first line authorized immediate use in all eastern pools and the Royal Basin. No preliminary basin conflict test was attached. "Who requested the amendment?" Torvald asked. Anselma placed one hand on the marble. "I did. 3 guards showed early signs of the same fever threatening you. Waiting for a full oath review risked wider collapse. Did you expect the balm to suppress pain?" "I expected it to stabilize wolf response." "Did you know it would conflict with moon water?" "No." Her answer remained possible. Emergency medicine often moved before perfect certainty. The failure lay not yet in choosing restoration, but in applying it after the water had sworn another purpose, and allowing relief to stand in for proof of healing. Margot opened the authorization fold. The amendment carried Anselma's physician seal. Beneath it lay the black crescent of Torvald's emergency wolf authority, permitting immediate changes to royal and military recovery regimens during suspected curse spread. He had not mixed the balm. He had signed the speed that carried it past witness law. The seal had been issued after Anselma's fever summary. It had been applied before any basin conflict test was attempted. The seal did not prove Torvald knew what the balm would hide. It proved his authority let the regimen outrun the water sworn to test it. The fever summary reached the witness table before sunrise, its black ribbon still bearing the pressure mark of Torvald's emergency seal. Margot remained on the far side of the drained Moonwater Basin while clerks opened the packet beneath silver lamps. Her bath keys still hung from Anselma Crow's belt. Her dismissal order lay sealed beside the dark water sample, and Wystan Cole remained in the Western Recovery Room under independent care. Anselma stood with both hands visible. Suspected curse spread justified an immediate regimen change. 3 guards trembled during the same watch as the king. Waiting for a full basin review could have allowed wolf collapse to move through the barracks. Then the summary should show the order in which the symptoms and bath changes occurred, Margot said. Torvald extended her temporary standing to the emergency regimen authority chain. She could inspect the fever summary, the seal request, the amendment drafts, and the objection index attached to the decision. She could not resume control of the bathhouse, alter any treatment, or reclaim the keys taken from her. He did not apologize. He was reading the objection only after his authority had made it disappear. The first page listed shared trembling, weakening wolf response, fever after immersion, and risk of rapid curse transmission. It did not mention that the silver vein pools had already been drawn under their revealing oath before Anselma ordered the balm amendment. Margot placed Wystan's bath entry beside the summary. The water was sworn first. The symptoms existed before the balm. Anselma replied, "In Wystan? In the king and 2 other guards. Then why does the summary place all 3 beneath one line? To show a common threat. It also removes the difference between symptoms noticed before immersion and trembling that began after the amended regimen." Anselma's face remained composed. "A summary is not a full case ledger. No, it is the page the king acted upon." The seal request followed. Its declared purpose was prevent wolf collapse spread through immediate restoration authority. It requested permission to apply the amended balm to the royal basin and every military pool sharing the silver vein channel. No line requested a mineral conflict test. No line acknowledged that the water had already accepted an oath to reveal concealed injury. Torvald read the request without looking away from it. Who approved the seal release? His royal steward, Bertram Lorne, had done so from the night council chamber. Bertram arrived carrying the emergency register beneath his cloak, a careful man whose loyalty had long been measured by how quickly he placed a document in the king's hand. "I approved the use of emergency authority," he said. The physician's summary warned that delay might cost the king his wolf and spread the same collapse among the guard. "Did you read the mineral draw ledger?" Margot asked. "No." "The bath oath?" "No." "My objection?" It was not included in the packet. Anselma's gaze shifted toward the objection index. Margot saw it. The entry had been recorded before the seal request. Basin conflict likely if restoration amendment follows completed mineral draw. Request independent Moonwater witness before use. Beside it, a later hand had written bath servant disagreement, no medical standing. The objection had not been answered. It had been reduced until it no longer required an answer. "Who classified it?" Torvald asked. The mark belonged to a medical packet clerk serving beneath Anselma's office. Anselma did not deny the office connection. Bath attendants object to physician changes frequently. Most objections concern temperature, mineral strength, or traditional practice. Emergency packets cannot carry every disagreement. "This one named an oath conflict," Margot said. "You had no physician's rank. The Moonwater does not ask rank before it blackens. That is not proof your interpretation was correct before the test. No, it is proof the test should not have been removed." Bertram opened the amendment folder. 3 drafts lay beneath Anselma's seal. The first authorized a limited balm application to Torvald only, followed by a basin conflict test before any military use. The second expanded the regimen to the eastern pools but retained the testing line. The final draft removed it and allowed immediate application after any fever summary declaring suspected wolf collapse. Torvald looked at Anselma. Why was the line removed? Because the test required redrawing the basin, reopening the mineral oath, and delaying treatment until moonrise. The king's wolf was failing. "The seal authorized speed," Bertram said quietly. "Not concealment." Anselma turned to him. No one knew concealment had occurred. Her defense remained possible. The black water had appeared only after Margot forced the substances into witness contact. A physician facing a dying royal wolf might lawfully choose immediate restoration over a test she believed unnecessary. But someone had written the test into the first draft. Margot studied the ink. The wording was older than the surrounding hand. No restorative oath may enter Moonwater after mineral witness without conflict proof before immersion. That line was copied, she said. The archive clerk brought the War Healing Index. The sentence appeared in older bathhouse law, first entered after the Southern Campaign when soldiers returned carrying layered battlefield salves beneath mineral treatment. The author's name had been scraped from the modern copy. Margot knew the original rule. She had heard it recited beside field cauldrons while men screamed under winter canvas. Torvald watched recognition cross her face. Whose hand? She did not answer from memory alone. She requested the original War Healing Ledger. The volume arrived sealed in cracked blue leather, its edges darkened by smoke and mineral salt. It had not been opened since the year her husband died. The clerk turned to the cited page. There, beneath a record of 12 soldiers whose pain vanished while hidden heat spread under their scars, stood the full warning in brown ink. The bomb may be lawful. The water may be lawful. If their oaths meet out of order, healing can become concealment. The signature beneath it belonged to Margot Brine. The name did not prove who removed the test. It proved Margot's warning had been law before Anselma's packet reduced it to servant disagreement. The clean amendment copy looked harmless beside Margot Brine's smoke-darkened ledger. Its paper was pale, its margins even, its language polished for royal review. Nothing remained of the field tense, burned skin, or hidden fever that had given the original rule its weight. Only one softened sentence survived where Corwin had written a command. A basin conflict test may be performed if time permits. Margot stood across the witness table while the Moonwater Basin remained drained behind her. Her keys still hung from Anselma Crow's belt. Wystan Cole slept in the Western recovery room with 2 independent healers watching the heat beneath his old scar. Torvald's own treatment remained suspended, but no restoration of Margot's authority had followed. Anselma examined the 2 texts without flinching. Campaign bath law was written for layered battlefield salves, not suspected royal wolf collapse. The old rule was advisory once delay threatened the king's life. Then the revision should name the emergency exception, Margot said. It should not erase the author and weaken must into May. Torvald widened her, standing only to the custody of the removed test line. She could examine the revision log, packet office records, clean copy source, and every hand that carried the final draft to Bertram Lawn. She could not reclaim the bathhouse, alter the current regimen, or treat the king. He did not apologize. The first revision entry came from Anselma's medical packet office 1 bell after the fever summary. A clerk named Sabine Arel had copied the final draft from a clean version delivered under urgent royal wolf collapse classification. Sabine arrived with ink still staining the side of one finger. She was young enough to look frightened by the king and experienced enough to fear Anselma more. "Did you remove Margot Brine's name?" Margot asked. "No. The copy I received had no author." "Did it say must test?" Sabine swallowed. "No. It said may test if time permits." "Who gave you the clean version?" "A sealed packet from the physician's private regimen room." Anselma's voice remained steady. "My office stores standard forms there. A clerk retrieving one does not prove I revised it." Margot accepted the limit. The packet route tied the clean version to Anselma's office, not yet to her hand or intent. The revision log showed that Sabine copied the clean text into the amendment draft, then added the urgent classification exactly as instructed. She had never seen the War Healing Ledger. She had not known the wording had changed. "Why was the author omitted?" Torvald asked. "I believed it was a current standard," Sabine said. The clean copy carried no source line. Bertram opened his emergency register. He had approved the packet 32 minutes after receiving it, relying on Anselma's fever summary, Sabine's clean amendment, and the request for immediate wolf collapse authority. He had not seen Corwin's ledger. He had not seen Margot's objection. He had not seen the earlier drafts retaining the test. "I approved the version before me," Bertram said. "And the version before you had already converted a required witness into an optional delay," Margot replied. Torvald looked from the clean copy to his emergency seal. He was reading the missing law only after his authority had moved without it. "The seal authorized the final text," he said. "Yes," Margot answered. "Not the text the bathhouse law required." Anselma folded her hands. The king's wolf was declining by the hour. If the test had delayed restoration until moonrise, and he had died, this room would condemn me for obeying an old campaign warning over a living sovereign. The argument carried real weight. Emergency medicine could not become paralysis. A physician might lawfully shorten procedure when delay itself threatened life. "But you did not record an exception," Margot said. "You changed the rule until no exception was needed. That assumes the clean version was altered rather than updated through lawful medical practice. Then the update should have a council date, witness seal, and replacement entry in the Bath Law Index. None existed. The archive clerk searched 3 years of bathhouse revisions. Corwin's rule remained active in the index until 6 months earlier, when a blank notation marked it transferred to current regimen guidance. No current guidance page had been filed. The transfer mark belonged to the medical packet office. Again, the record reached Anselma's authority without yet reaching her personal hand. Margot asked for the clean copy's physical custody rather than its language alone. Sabine had received it folded inside a white regimen cover. After copying it, she returned both to the private packet room. The office inventory listed the cover as destroyed after emergency use, but the disposal witness line was empty. "Who controlled that room?" Torvald asked. 3 senior physicians, 2 packet clerks, and Physician Crow, Sabine replied. "Who held the keys that night?" "1 clerk, Physician Crow, and the night steward." Anselma met Margot's gaze. Many hands could have prepared the copy. Yes. The answer did not free her. It kept the inquiry honest. The night steward produced the key ledger. Anselma entered the private regimen room before the fever summary was written and left 12 minutes later. Sabine entered afterward to collect the sealed packet. No other physician used the room between those times. Anselma did not retreat. I retrieved the restoration form and reviewed the emergency wording. I did not alter Corwin Brine's law. I believed the clean copy reflected current guidance. Who prepared it? I do not know. Margot requested the paper ledger. Royal medical paper carried maker's marks along the fibers. Public packet sheets came from the Nighthold archive mill. Anselma's private regimen books used a heavier moon cotton stock imported from the western monasteries, chosen because balm oils would not bleed through the page. The clean copy was placed over blue flame. A narrow crow feather watermark appeared inside the lower margin. The paper had been cut from Anselma's private regimen book. That still did not prove she wrote the revision. Someone with access could have taken the sheet and prepared it elsewhere. Then the witness clerk turned the page. Along the lower edge, beneath the fold, lay a faint silver crescent of restoration oath residue, the same inward-bending balm trace found on Torvald's and Whiston's cloths. Margot stopped the witness clerk before he could call the silver crescent proof of authorship. "Residue can travel," she said. "Oil passes from fingers to paper, from paper to cloth, from cloth to a table. It connects the clean copy to the emergency balm. It does not yet tell us who wrote the revision." Anselma Crow inclined her head. "At last, a distinction worth keeping. Regimen books are opened beside medicines every day. Balm along the page edge may be careless handling, nothing more." The Moonwater Basin remained empty behind them, its black sample sealed beneath silver glass. Whiston Cole still occupied the Western Recovery Room. Torvald had received no private treatment since Margot refused to place the king before the exposed soldiers. He widened her temporary standing to the private regimen book, the missing page custody, and the emergency oath wording used on the balm. Her bath keys remained at Anselma's waist. Her dismissal order remained in force. No apology entered the record. The clean sheet had been cut from the physician's private volume. Its lower fibers matched a torn seam between two surviving pages, one containing the ordinary restoration formula and the next recording emergency applications during suspected wolf collapse. The match established where the paper came from. It did not establish who removed it. Anselma's key ledger showed that she, two senior compounders, and the night packet clerk could enter the regimen room. On the night of the amendment, Anselma had entered first. Sabine Aurel collected the sealed copy afterward. A senior compounder had used the room earlier that afternoon. 3 people had lawful access, Anselma said, and packet attendants often carried forms between tables. Then we examine the form before we examine the person, Margot replied. The ordinary restoration balm contained moonroot, ironbark, silver fat, and salt from the western wells. Its oath instructed damaged tissue to release trapped heat before rebuilding. A sealed archive jar prepared 6 months earlier carried silver threads that opened outward when held over fresh moonwater. The emergency jar used on Torvald and Weiston carried the same ingredients. Its oath did not. A second clause had been bound into the balm: hold rising heat within the flesh until the wolf's pulse steadies. Bertram Lorne read the wording twice. That is a stabilization oath. On a dry treatment bed, it may be, Margot said. Inside revealing water, it orders the body to keep what the basin has sworn to bring out. Anselma did not retreat. A failing royal wolf can die from sudden heat release. The inward hold prevents shock while restoration begins. Was it tested in Moonwater? No. The emergency instruction assumed external use until the fever spread. Then why did the final amendment send it into every silver vein pool? Because the symptoms appeared among soldiers already scheduled for immersion. The answer remained medically possible. The changed oath could have been intended to prevent collapse rather than conceal harm. The failure lay in carrying it into sworn water without the conflict test Corwin's rule required. Margot requested a controlled comparison. 2 shallow witness basins were drawn from an unused western channel and sworn under the ordinary revealing oath. A thread of archive balm touched the first. The water remained silver as the restoration pattern opened toward the surface. A thread of emergency balm touched the second. Blackness gathered beneath it in a thin inward spiral. The test did not show poison. It showed that the emergency oath itself conflicted with moonwater before any body, battlefield metal, or old wound entered the basin. Anselma watched the dark spiral. Conflict is not injury. No, Margot said, so we returned to the injured man. Whiston was carried to the western witness pool under the care of 2 independent healers. Margot did not direct his treatment. She required that his scar heat, wolf response, and pain be recorded before and after the water touched him. No emergency balm was applied. The fresh moonwater darkened briefly over the old spear wound, then drew a grey thread of trapped heat toward the surface. Whiston cried out as sensation returned to the leg he had thought healed. His wolf's hindquarters remained weak, but the involuntary trembling eased before the second bell. One guard's response could not establish the cause of every illness in the bathhouse. It showed that removing the inward hold conflict allowed the revealing oath to perform the work it had been denied. Torvald watched from the opposite bench, one hand pressed against the wound beneath his ribs. Margot did not go to him. The king has carried the regimen longer, Anselma said. Abrupt withdrawal may be more dangerous for him. Then he will wait until the soldier's exposure is counted and the royal channel is examined. He may not have that time. You used urgency to move the balm past the basin once. It will not move him past the men now. Torvald's expression hardened with pain, but he did not overrule her witness condition. The clerks opened the royal silver vein ledger. According to the official draw, nothing entered Torvald's channel before Margot swore the water. The mineral gate had been flushed, sealed, and opened under her mark. Yet the channel maintenance book recorded a private preconditioning rinse before every royal bath for the previous 7 months. The rinse was described as mineral stabilization. No formula, oath text, or basin witness accompanied it. Anselma looked toward the maintenance clerk. That rinse predates the current emergency balm. Who authorized it? Torvald asked. The clerk turned to the hidden authorization fold. A physician office code appeared there, but no personal name. The order required the rinse to be completed before Margot entered the bathhouse, then omitted from the public mineral draw page to prevent royal regimen disclosure. Again, the chain reached Anselma's office without yet reaching her hand. Margot asked for water directly from the royal channel before it entered the basin. The first cup emerged clear. When the clerk spoke the ordinary revealing oath over it, the water darkened on its own. No balm cloth had touched it. No wounded body had entered it. No vial stood nearby. A faint silver pattern turned inward along the cup's edge, the same restoration oath trace carried by the emergency balm and the clean revision page. The conflict had not begun on Torvald's skin. The royal water had been taught to conceal before Margot ever drew it into the basin. The clear cup had not yet reached the witness table when its darkness changed the direction of the inquiry. Until that moment, every conflict had been traced from balm to body. Now the royal channel itself carried an inward-turning restoration oath before Margot ever drew water into the Moonwater Basin. Anselma Crow stood beside the maintenance book, composed but no longer dismissive. The preconditioning rinse predates the emergency balm. It was designed to steady mineral temperature around a curse-damaged wolf. A channel treatment is not the same as medicine applied to flesh. Then its oath, timing, and removal should be recorded before the basin accepts a patient, Margot said. Torvald widened her temporary standing to the royal channel preconditioning chain. She could examine the rinse order, mineral gate ledger, oath register, and sealed health chronology attached to its use. Her bath keys remained on Anselma's belt. Her dismissal remained in force. He did not apologize. The maintenance order had begun 7 months earlier. Before every royal bath, attendants flushed the silver vein gate, poured 1 measure of pale mineral rinse through the channel, and waited until the stone stopped steaming. Margot arrived only after the public draw page had been opened. The rinse never appeared there. A separate private ledger called it Royal Mineral Stabilization and instructed attendants to omit it from ordinary bath records to protect the king's medical secrecy. Who authorized the private ledger? Margot asked. Anselma's physician office code appeared on the first page. Bertram Lorne's countersign allowed the procedure to bypass public mineral review. Bertram looked older beneath the silver lamps. The king's condition was considered a threat to succession. I approved secrecy around the regimen, not alteration of the bath oath. Secrecy made the alteration invisible to the person responsible for swearing the water, Margot said. Torvald's gaze remained on the omitted entries. He had allowed the court to treat the weakness of his wolf as information more dangerous than unexamined treatment. The rinse formula contained ordinary mineral salts, moonroot ash, and a diluted restoration binding. Nothing in the ingredients answered as poison. The oath carried the same inward hold clause found in the emergency balm. Keep rising heat within the body until the wolf pulse steadies. Anselma touched the formula with 1 finger. In a channel rinse, that clause prevents thermal shock. It was never intended to remain active after the flush. Was the channel reopened under a neutral oath? The maintenance master searched 7 months of entries. No. Was the stone tested before each royal draw? No. Anselma's mouth tightened. The rinse was believed to dissipate. Belief is not a basin witness. Margot asked for mineral scale from 2 channels, the royal silver vein and an unused western branch. Independent clerks scraped equal amounts into separate witness cups. Fresh moon water remained silver over the western scale. Over the royal scale, it darkened in a narrow inward spiral. The test did not show that the rinse poisoned Torvald or that Anselma intended concealment. It showed that the restoration oath remained embedded in the channel after attendants believed it gone. A second ledger made the exposure wider. During winter shortages, overflow from the royal return channel had been diverted into the eastern guard pools. Whiston's bath occurred on one of those nights. 2 other trembling guards had entered during later diversions. Margot did not open their medical files at the table. Name them, admit them, and give them independent bath review before the king returns to water. Anselma's restraint thinned. The king's wound is open. So are the soldiers' risks. His privacy helped hide the channel from them. Torvald's pain sharpened across his face, but he did not overrule her. The two guards were entered into Western recovery care before the inquiry continued. Only then did the sealed royal health chronology come forward. For 7 months, Torvald had recorded numbness after immersion, delayed wound closure, loss of scent, and longer silences from his wolf. The worst episodes began within hours of the royal bath. Anselma's summaries described the same symptoms as recurrence of a battlefield curse, requiring stronger stabilization. Why was the bath sequence absent? Margot asked. Because the bath was treatment, Anselma replied. A worsening illness after treatment does not prove the treatment caused it. No, but it requires the treatment to remain visible in the sequence. Torvald spoke before she could ask him. I ordered the full decline kept from the public council. Margot looked at him. My wolf's failure would have been read as failure of my blood, he said. Only Anselma, Bertram, and the closed medical office knew its extent. And the cost of protecting your claim was a bathhouse ordered to record water without being told what followed it. His jaw hardened. Yes, the admission did not return her keys, restore her standing, or place the exposed soldiers beyond danger. Margot asked for the first authorization, not the later summaries. It had been written 9 days before Torvald's earliest recorded episode of lost healing response. Anselma's office requested the preconditioning rinse under urgent royal secrecy and cited one medical reason: observed failure of the king's wolf to close battle wounds after Moonwater immersion. Torvald read the line twice. I had not lost that response yet. Anselma's face remained still. You had shown early weakness beneath the scar, not failure to close wounds. No, the authorization did not prove she created the decline. It proved the regimen had been justified with a symptom before the king's own body had recorded it. Margot turned the page. Beneath the authorization lay a preparation note for the first rinse. Begin before the next royal bath. Do not enter the conditioning oath on the public mineral drawer. The note bore Anselma Crow's personal seal. It did not yet prove she intended the king's decline. It proved the hidden oath had entered the channel by her authority before the illness used to justify it. Anselma's seal changed the question before the first witness lamp burned out. The bathhouse had spent 3 days asking whether the hidden rinse conflicted with Moonwater. Now the record showed that Anselma had authorized the rinse before Torvald's body displayed the failure used to justify it. She did not retreat from the table. Royal wolves show collapse before ordinary flesh records it, she said. I observed a weakening response beneath the king's scar and prepared a stabilizing regimen before the decline became public. Then the observation should exist, Margot replied. Torvald widened her temporary standing to the first rinse design, the preliminary examination notes, and any test performed before the royal channel was altered. Her bath keys remained at Anselma's waist. The dismissal order still named Margot negligent in the king's worsening. He did not apologize. The earliest examination sheet described stiffness after battle, intermittent heat beneath the old wound, and a royal wolf slow to settle after midnight. It did not record failed healing, loss of scent, or an inability to close wounds. Anselma had seen risk. The authorization had named collapse. A physician may act before the worst symptom appears, she said. Yes, Margot answered. But acting early does not permit writing the future symptom as though it has already happened. The first rinse formula had not begun in Anselma's private book. Its source line pointed to an older Moonwell memorandum held in the restricted bath archive. The archive keeper brought a narrow slate volume bound with silver cord. The original instruction had been written for soldiers whose wolves panicked when revealed pain rose too quickly through mineral water. It required a gentler draw, lower heat, and a release oath spoken before any restorative binding entered the channel. The first line read, Let hidden heat rise in measure, then restore what the water has revealed. Anselma's clean version read, hold hidden heat until the wolf steadies, then permit the water to reveal what remains. The ingredients had barely changed. The order of obedience had. Anselma studied the two texts. Adaptation is not corruption. A battlefield wolf and a failing royal wolf are not the same body. Who tested the adaptation? A preliminary record existed under a sealed infirmary number. The subject was Captain Edris Morn, a retired gate officer whose winter wound reopened during a training fall. He had entered a small eastern basin 6 weeks before Torvald's first rinse. Edris came to the bathhouse with a cane and a scar running from his hip to his ribs. He remembered Anselma supervising the trial and 2 compounders preparing the channel. The water burned at first, he said. Then all pain stopped. They called it a successful stabilization. Did the wound close? Margot asked. For a day. Then the heat moved deeper. I spent 3 weeks unable to shift. The private trial sheet recorded immediate relief, steady pulse, and successful suppression of distress. A later infirmary leaf recorded deepened heat and temporary wolf paralysis, but it had never been attached to the regimen review. Anselma's face tightened. Captain Morn suffered a secondary injury after the trial. I fell because my hind leg stopped answering, which may have come from the original wound. The trial did not settle cause. It did show that relief had been recorded as success, while the later bodily response remained outside the packet used to authorize Torvald's rinse. Margot asked for the oath witness who had attended the trial. The line was blank. That memorandum requires a Moonwell witness, she said. Anselma turned toward her. The Moonwell offices were dissolved generations ago. The offices were, the hearing was not. Silence spread beneath the arches. Torvald's gaze lifted from the ledger. Explain. Margot had protected the truth because the court had long treated bath servants as hands without authority, and old oath hearing as forbidden superstition. But Anselma's packet had used the absence of a witness, while dismissing the one person trained to hear the strain. My mother descended from the first Moonwell keepers, Margot said. She taught me to recognize when water carries one healing oath while being forced to obey another. Anselma's voice sharpened. You concealed forbidden practice inside the royal bathhouse. I concealed nothing. I used as judgment. Hearing strain cannot name a culprit, identify poison, or decide whether a treatment is lawful. It tells me only that the water's sworn purpose has been bent. And you expect this court to trust a sensation inherited through blood? No. I expect the court to read the basin, the ledger, and the bodies. My hearing tells me where a test is owed. It is not the test. Torvald looked at the blackened sample, then at the keys on Anselma's belt. Did you know what she was? Margot answered before the physician could. Ask the record. The restricted archive held an index of surviving Moonwell lines, maintained because royal bath law required an oath witness during conflicts no physician could resolve alone. Most names had ended in war or exile. Margot's maternal line remained. Her mother had entered Margot as the final living witness of the Edivane water oath, years before Margot took Corwin Brine's surname. The registry did not make her mistress of the basin. It established that her objection carried bath law standing Anselma's packet had denied. Torvald read the entry slowly. Your objection should never have been classified as servant disagreement. No. Anselma recovered her composure. A blood registry does not prove competence. Nor does it prove I knew her lineage when the packet was prepared. That distinction mattered. Margot requested the private regimen index rather than answering accusation with certainty. The index listed every person barred from reviewing the hidden royal rinse. Bertram Lorne appeared because he held political authority but lacked medical standing. 2 senior healers appeared because they opposed secret channel alterations. Margot's name appeared last. Beside it, in Anselma's hand, stood one instruction. Moonwell hearing confirmed. Keep outside royal regimen review if conflict is raised. The instruction beside Margot's name changed the air in the bathhouse more sharply than any accusation. Anselma Crowe had known what Margot was when she classified her warning as servant disagreement. The line did not prove the physician had designed Torvald's decline or intended the hidden rinse to harm him. It proved she had identified the one lawful witness trained to hear oath strain and kept her outside the regimen if conflict arose. Anselma remained beside the witness table. Moonwell hearing is not neutral. The old lines opposed physician authority for generations. I excluded a source of predictable obstruction during an emergency. You did not record me as biased, Margot said. You erased my standing so the objection could be dismissed without answer. Torvald's wolf stirred weakly beneath his skin. He read the exclusion again, then placed Anselma's bath keys on the silver table. He did not hand them to Margot. Until the review reached a lawful finding, neither woman would control the royal channels alone. The keys remained under 3 witness seals, while Margot's temporary standing widened to Moonwell conflict review, soldier exposure records, and the hidden rinse authorization. Her dismissal still stood. No apology softened the decision. Anselma looked toward the western recovery rooms. The king's condition cannot wait while every guard is examined. Then count how many bodies your emergency authority reached, Margot replied. You called it spread when you needed speed. You cannot call it private treatment now. The 2 guards whose files remained closed were brought into the witness ward. Captain Soren Vale had used the eastern pool 3 nights after Wistan. Guard Elric Dane entered during the next Royal Channel overflow. Both reported swift pain relief, followed by numbness, trembling, and weakness in their wolves' hindquarters. Margot did not diagnose them from resemblance. Their bath entries were opened separately. Both pools had been drawn under the silver vein revealing oath. Both later received the inward hold balm after the mineral witness was complete. Neither file recorded a conflict test. Fresh moonwater was prepared in 2 shallow basins under independent oath. No balm entered the water. The healers examined the men before immersion, then lowered only the injured limbs. Grey heat rose from Soren's old knee wound. Elric's shoulder scar darkened, then released a thin thread of trapped warmth. Both men regained pain before they regained strength. Anselma watched without looking away. Pain returning does not prove the prior regimen caused the weakness. No, Margot said. It proves the earlier relief concealed unresolved injury in all 3 soldiers exposed through the same oath order. 1 king and 3 guards now shared the pattern. The results still did not establish poison or intent. It established that the regimen had failed beyond Torvald's private body, and that Anselma's summaries had treated concealment as stabilization. Only after the soldiers entered open recovery care did Margot permit the royal health file to return to the table. Torvald stood beside the empty central basin, one hand pressed beneath his ribs. Examine the political orders tied to my medical authority. Anselma's composure changed. During each period of declared wolf collapse, the court physician received emergency power over military travel, council attendance, royal audiences, and succession communications. The authority existed to protect an incapacitated king from exploitation. For 7 months, every worsening episode extended Anselma's control. She had postponed 2 war council sessions, restricted 3 pack envoys from seeing Torvald, and required all petitions concerning his health to pass through her office. None of those acts was unlawful on its face. Medical isolation kept rival packs from turning his weakness into rebellion, she said. I preserved the throne while the king could not safely appear. You also decided which reports of his decline reached him, Margot said. I decided which demands would worsen it. Torvald opened the council access ledger. Margot's first request to compare his post-bath weakness with soldier exposure had been denied 3 months earlier. Corwin's war healing rule was attached. The denial bore Anselma's personal seal. Reason: grief-bound bath widow, pursuing obsolete battlefield theory. Margot felt Corwin's name strike deeper than the insult meant for her. Anselma had used widowhood to turn bath law into mourning. Torvald read the denial aloud. You knew she cited the original rule. I knew she cited her husband's ledger. I believed grief made her see repetition where disease existed. And when you confirmed she carried Moonwell standing, I believe that made her less impartial, not more. Margot met her gaze. You feared a witness who could require the basin to answer before your regimen entered it. I feared delay while the king's wolf died. The defense remained coherent. It no longer remained clean. The hidden rinse chronology was placed beside the extensions of medical authority. The first preconditioning order preceded Torvald's recorded decline. Each worsening followed another cycle through the altered channel. Each cycle produced a new emergency extension for Anselma's office. Sequence alone did not prove design. It showed that her political authority grew from a decline the hidden regimen had begun before the king's body recorded it. Torvald's wolf gave a low, broken sound. Margot did not move toward him. "What treatment do you require?" he asked. "Not treatment. Removal of the concealed oath from every channel, followed by neutral water and open records. And for me? You wait until the soldiers complete their first recovery cycle." His jaw tightened, but he accepted the condition before witnesses. The royal silver vein was opened under Mason's supervision. Layer by layer, they scraped inward-turning restoration residue from the stone. Beneath the 7th-month scale, they found an older black deposit pressed into the channel wall. The maintenance master frowned. This was not poured as rinse. The deposit had been sealed into the stone through repeated heated applications. Its oath carried no restorative promise. It carried a containment command: keep the royal wolf dependent upon controlled water. Anselma stepped toward the channel. "That wording is not in my regimen." Margot stopped the clerk from naming guilt. The hidden command did not identify who placed it or when. It proved only that the royal channel had been altered beyond the medical rinse already under review. Then the masons uncovered the seal impressed beneath the black deposit. Not Anselma's physician mark. The royal bath seal of Torvald Neve, applied 8 months earlier, 1 month before the first hidden rinse. The mason stopped work until the royal bath seal could be examined beneath clean light. Torvald's mark lay pressed into the oldest black layer of the silver vein channel, but the impression alone did not show who spoke the containment oath or whether the king knew what command the mineral would carry. It showed that royal authority had opened the channel to alteration before Anselma's hidden rinse began. Margot remained beside the western recovery doors while Wistan, Soren, and Elric completed their first neutral water cycle. Her bath keys were still under witness seals. The dismissal order still stood. Torvald did not apologize. "Open the channel. Repair authorization," he said. The packet had been kept in the Crown's private bath archive under battlefield curse classification. 8 months earlier, Torvald approved a sealed repair after Anselma warned that his wolf might be releasing corrupted heat into the moon water. The public description called the work protective mineral containment. Anselma faced the table without lowering her eyes. The king's old wound blackened 2 basins and sickened an attendant. Containing the discharge was lawful. Was the attendant examined before or after the channel was altered? Margot asked. After. Then the blackening could have come from the conflict placed in the stone. The hidden rinse did not yet exist. No, but the containment oath did. The first engineering plan required a removable silver gate above the mineral channel. Any corrupted heat drawn from Torvald would collect there, visible to a Moonwell witness, before the water returned to the basin. The gate could be tested without changing the oath of the stone. That plan carried the royal seal Torvald remembered granting. The completed work record described something else. Instead of a removable gate, masons had heated a black mineral binding into the channel wall. The final wording ordered the stone to hold royal wolf distress within controlled water and prevent uncontrolled release. The word dependence did not appear on Torvald's authorization. It appeared only in the oath residue uncovered from the stone. "Who approved the change?" Torvald asked. A folded alteration slip showed that Bertram Lorne countersigned the new design after receiving a medical notice that a removable gate might expose the court to curse vapor. Bertram did not hide behind the seal. "I approved the safer design described to me." I did not hear the oath spoken into the mineral. The slip named the court physician's office, and a senior bath mason, Harlan Voss. Harlan had died the previous winter, but his apprentice still worked in Nighthold. Nessa Vale entered with mineral dust embedded in the scars along her fingers. She remembered preparing the binding under Anselma's supervision. The physician said the king's wolf must remain within controlled healing water until the curse could be drawn out. Nessa testified. Master Voss asked whether the command should end after each bath. She said the stone must retain it between immersions, and Selma's voice sharpened, because repeated release might have spread the curse through the silver vein. Did you use the word dependent? Margot asked. No. Nessa hesitated. Not at first. On the final heating, the binding resisted the ordinary containment oath, and Selma returned with a private wording strip. Nessa held it, while Harlan spoke the command into the mineral. What did it say? Torvald asked. The royal wolf must not heal beyond the water authorized to contain him. And Selma turned toward her. You were an apprentice standing over mineral smoke 8 months ago. Memory is not an oath record. No, Margot said. So we find the strip. The completion packet listed every consumed material except one narrow vellum instruction marked Return to Physician. Anselma's private regimen index showed a missing entry on the same day. Its title had been scraped away, but pressure remained on the page beneath it. Under angled moonlight, the words rose slowly. Royal Containment Amendment retain therapeutic dependence until physician release. The notation connected Anselma's private book to the command found in the stone. It still did not establish why she considered dependence necessary, but it moved the language beyond an apprentice's memory. Torvald looked at the seal embedded in the channel. I authorized containment because I believed my wolf endangered others, and required no independent water witness, Margot said. I required secrecy. You chose secrecy over the basin law that might have shown whether the danger came from you or from what was being done to you. His wolf gave a weak, rough sound. Yes. The admission entered the public bath record. It did not restore Margot's keys or undo the soldier's exposure. And Selma placed both hands on the table. If rival packs learned his wolf could not heal, they would have challenged the throne. Controlled dependence kept him alive and governable. Governable by whom? By treatment. Treatment only your office could authorize. The political ledger showed that whenever Torvald tried to reduce Anselma's control over council access, his regimen intensified under relapse warning. Each cycle renewed the inward oath. His wolf weakened, and her emergency authority extended. Sequence alone was not motive. Then Bertram opened a sealed memorandum written 6 months earlier. Anselma had advised postponing a succession vote because the king remained medically dependent upon controlled moonwater and could not safely appear without her supervision. The phrase matched the hidden command. You described a condition your treatment was designed to preserve, Torvald said. I described the condition that existed. You placed it in the stone before it existed. Anselma argued that controlled dependence was temporary protection while a curse was studied, and that political authority had been a burden. Margot asked for the physician release clause. There was none. The hidden oath could be renewed or transferred into balm. No instruction allowed the royal wolf to leave controlled water once stable. Behind Margot, Whiston's wolf rose without trembling. Soren followed. Elric remained weak but could feel his injured shoulder again. Only after their recoveries were entered did Margot permit neutral water to be prepared for Torvald. Before he approached the basin, the masons removed the final black layer from the channel. A small silver capsule dropped from the stone. Inside lay the original private wording strip, sealed against mineral heat. At the bottom, beneath the containment command, Anselma Crow had written, If the king begins to heal without the regimen, strengthen the oath until his wolf returns to dependence. Margot sealed the silver capsule before anyone could call the handwriting a confession. Anselma Crow's instruction lay beneath witness glass. It ordered the hidden oath strengthened if Torvald began to heal without her regimen. The words did not prove she had poisoned the king, intended his death, or caused every tremor in the eastern pools. They proved she had designed treatment to preserve dependence after healing became possible. And Selma stood beneath the bathhouse lamps with her white sleeves folded back. A royal wolf recovering without controlled supervision could have released the same curse into every shared channel. Dependence was restraint, not ambition. Then why was there no release condition? Margot asked. Because the curse had no known end. You gave the regimen an end only when your office chose one. Torvald remained beside the neutral basin prepared after the soldiers completed their first recovery cycle. Pain had hollowed his face, yet he did not enter the water. Wystan, Soren, and Elric had been named, examined, and placed under open care before the king received private treatment. The public bath hearing opened where Margot had been dismissed. Clerks laid out the fever summary, hidden rinse order, softened copy of Corwin Brine's rule, Margot's excluded objection, clean amendment page, channel plans, private dependence wording, and Anselma's instruction. The Moonwater Basin remained among the witnesses, not above them. Its blackening had revealed incompatible oaths. The records and bodies revealed how the conflict entered the bathhouse. Anselma did not confess to malice. She argued that Torvald's weakening wolf threatened civil war, that court physicians had long used secrecy during succession danger, and that controlled dependence kept a vulnerable sovereign alive. Some counselors believed her. The northern packs had already tested Torvald's borders twice during his illness. You were permitted to treat danger, Margot said. You were not permitted to manufacture the condition that made your authority permanent. The courts separated what the evidence could support. No poison charge was entered. No claim was made that every restoration balm was corrupt. The ordinary balm, used in correct order, remained lawful. Anselma was charged with falsifying the timing of royal symptoms, suppressing a lawful Moonwell objection, altering mandatory basin testing into optional guidance, embedding an undisclosed containment oath in the royal channel, and extending that oath after independent recovery became possible. Her political restrictions were reviewed separately. Some had protected the throne. Others had protected her control over it. Bertram Lorne retained office under censure. He had approved secrecy and speed from incomplete packets, but no evidence showed he altered the oath or knew Margot's objection had been removed. From then on, every emergency packet would require the mineral drawer, witness objections, and the exact text placed under royal seal. Torvald submitted his own conduct to the same hearing. I hid the decline of my wolf because I feared the kingdom would read illness as unfitness, he said. I allowed secrecy to remove the bath witnesses who could have tested the treatment. I dismissed Margot Brine before examining the black water, and I permitted the king's body to outrank soldiers exposed through the same channel. His wolf stirred weakly beneath his skin. I trusted the physician's amendment more than the woman responsible for the oath of the water. Margot did not soften. Admission did not erase the dismissal. Wystan's numb leg, months of concealed heat, or authority gained through Torvald's fear. The council stripped Anselma of sole regimen control and placed her under trial. Her medical rank was suspended, but her lawful research records were preserved. Margot insisted upon that distinction. Destroying every page would repeat the error that had turned Corwin's warning into inconvenient memory. Corwin Brine's war-healing rule returned to the first page of bathhouse law. No restorative oath could enter Moonwater after the mineral draw without a witnessed conflict test. No secrecy order could remove a soldier from exposure counts. Every shared channel change required the names of those who might receive its water. Pain relief could not be recorded as healing without examination after sensation returned. Margot's objections would no longer be filed as servant disagreement. The office of Moonwell witness was restored independent of physician command. Only then were her keys brought forward. Torvald did not offer them. They rested on the public witness table beside her corrected dismissal record. The court entered that she had been removed for preserving bath law, not for causing the king's decline. Margot accepted the keys after the soldiers signed their first recovery reports, and every altered channel had been scraped clean. She reopened the bathhouse with the western pools. The royal basin remained last. Neutral moonwater drew months of trapped heat from Torvald's old wound in slow grey ribbons. He did not heal in one night. His wolf returned by degrees. First scent, then sleep, then the ability to close a shallow cut without controlled balm. Recovery became work, rather than miracle, and Selma's trial ended 6 weeks later. She was convicted of unlawful oath alteration, suppression of witness law, falsification of medical sequence, and abuse of emergency authority. She was not convicted of attempted murder. Her motive had joined political survival, professional pride, and the belief that only a governable king could keep the Pax from war. The court judged that belief no license to make dependence permanent. Corwin's campaign record was reopened carefully. He was not remade into a prophet. He remained a field healer who observed a repeatable danger and wrote a rule the palace later erased. His name was restored to the law he authored. Winter had begun to loosen when Torvald returned to the bathhouse without physicians, guards, or sealed instructions. Margot stood beside the Moonwater Basin, sleeves rolled to her elbows. Mineral light moved across her hands. Years earlier, she had washed battlefield blood from his fingers. During the inquiry, she had refused his touch. He stopped beyond the silver rim. "May I come closer? You are already king inside this room," she said. "The question is whether you brought command to my water." "No." The basin remained clear. Torvald held out his hand, then waited. Margot looked at the man who had dismissed her, the king who had submitted his seal to public law, and the wolf learning to heal without dependence. She did not offer forgiveness as treatment. She placed one wet hand in his. "One moment," she said. He closed his fingers gently, asking nothing more. Moonwater ran between their joined hands and stayed silver.